Let's do it.
Cool. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your organization and what you're passionate about?
Sure. I'll start with my passion first because that's who I stand for. My name is Manpreet Randhawa, and I have a doctorate in medical science. I'm a health enthusiast, beauty specialist, and my expertise and my passion lies in bringing active ingredients which are vetted with science and clinically driven outcomes to the hand of consumer to give them a happy and youthful life.
Nice. So
That's what my passion is.
how do you instantiate that? So do you have is this your own company or do you work with other companies? How do you do that?
Yes. So right now I am a director of innovation and research at Syntheon. This is a company which is located in New Jersey, and it is a supplier company. So we do develop a lot of active ingredients. I've been here for 2 years. Before then, I was at Johnson & Johnson. So I spent, I think, 10 years in Johnson & Johnson. And being my time at Johnson & Johnson, I was working with bringing the finished products in the hand of the consumer. So working more with the innovation. Right.
Yeah. So how do you find out what works? Like, what kind of process do you use to figure out because you're talking about, having your customers happy and healthy. How do you find out what makes them happy and healthy?
I wouldn't say there is one way of figuring out that. I think it is more of a team effort. It is more of looking into what are the different trends which are going on. So there's a lot of information that is needed. So it is not something which has to be, for example, which is scientifically very robust and you think, okay, this is going to be the next breakthrough. It might not happen because sometimes the consumers, they are not ready to accept that. And it takes time for them to be accept that. And it might make sense at that time. But sometimes the consumers, they don't understand. And even if you are bringing that innovation in front of people, it won't be accepted. So it will fail. So there are so many different elements that play a role in order to make sure what makes sense at that particular time.
So how do you find out what they're looking for? I mean, do you do design thinking, or what's your best way of polling what the consumers are looking for?
We usually look at the consumer segmentations because it's not like one solution is going to fit everybody's problem, right? So it depends on okay, first of all, it has to be very specific on what is that problem that you're trying to solve. For example, a person who is in their 30s might have a different issues than what a person is in 40s and then say 50 and 60s. So you really have to think deeply about them. So there's a lot of market research that goes behind it to think about, okay, how and what is changing, what is currently trending. But beyond that, you really have to put yourself in that consumer's shoes and think of what are the current issues they are going with. And there are different, I would say, departments that work on that to understand what are the issues. And then thinking from their perspective, it is really thinking about them at that time to have that, where they're feeling vulnerable and what is the solution that we can provide them in order to meet their needs.
So you do do you do your own market research, or do you contract with companies to do the market research for you?
Depends on with Johnson & Johnson, yes, there was obviously it's a big company. So there were different departments who were taking control of that. Whereas in the smaller companies, they would always outsource it if they cannot handle that kind of department. So yeah, so it depends on where you are and what resources that you have, how to tackle with those resources.
So it sounds like what you're saying is that you have to actually uncover the problem with the customers first through market research before you actually develop product. But I'm assuming it works the other way around too. Like somebody within the organization comes up with something.
I would take my word back if you have understood this from the whole conversation. Yes, it comes from the marketing. I mean, they are pretty much very much involved in this. But again, the science has to progress, right? So there are, if we take a step back, and that's what the innovations are for. So it is not based on what consumers they are asking for. It is, yes, we like to give them a solution, but the innovation doesn't go that way. Innovation is something that you are creating something which is going to be of value to the other people. The thing is that, is the timing right or not? yes, the innovation, it keeps on going, and we keep on testing those things with the consumer. But at the same time, we get a lot of data from the consumer also, like how they are, what kind of issues they are managing, and how we can help them. So it goes like in so many different directions, and then it meets somewhere in the center to bring the best possible solution that we can provide them.
Right. Well, it's kind of like what they're saying with the iPhone and Steve Jobs. Like the iPhone didn't do any consumer research; they just sort of developed it and they put it out there, and everybody loved it. But it didn't necessarily happen that way. But do you find that your products are more successful when it's more research driven, or when it's more internally driven?
I think with Steve Jobs, he created the whole market. He was a genius.
Yeah.
I don't.
Well, aren't you the next Steve Jobs in health and beauty, or whatever space you're in?
He just, I think that was a breakthrough innovation. I mean, he just created the whole market. He didn't do anything, but he was a great marketer too. We should look into that also. He was very good at marketing it. For mostly for the healthcare products, I think we are at a stage that we look into both ways for the innovation, but we do a lot of like customer or the consumer segmentation testing beforehand in order to make sure that the product is providing the efficacy. Yes, so we do look at that. We even do the post-market research in order to make sure, yes, is it meeting the requirements it usually asks for. So which is kind of like not what Steve Jobs used to do, but a very different way of doing things.
Yeah. Well, so do you ever have a product that tests really, really well, and then when you launch it, it just totally dives? Has that ever happened to you before?
Yes, I have seen a couple of things where I've seen like some of the products which we see that I won't go into details in these things, but there are some things that where we see, okay, this thing is when we are bringing some technology to the market, and obviously it is meeting the current need of the consumer, and it will just blow it out. And with some of the other technologies, for example, I can give you an example of the hyaluronic acid. The hyaluronic acid now, it is being injected in the skin, and it is known for increasing the volume in the skin. The technology is pretty new. It's 10 years old. If you look at from a healthcare perspective, not from a technology perspective.
So 10 years is not old.
You will call it, but we still call it, because the thing is with these healthcare technology, the healthcare, especially the ingredient or the technologies, we don't know what the outcome would be. Like 1 or 2 years in order to study that, the safety, the efficacy. So all those data, they are very much needed. You can take an example of vaccine also. The vaccines, it take only a year to bring a vaccine, but we don't know, there's so many variables that is going to play a role in order to understand like what is the effect of those vaccines. In the same way, if I take you the example that I was giving you before for the hyaluronic acid, yes, so that's why we call it relatively new, because we don't know yet all the implications that can come out of that. So it's injected in the skin, but think about the mechanism that are going out in the skin, and how many different kind of skins that we have, how many different kind of people, how many different diseases the people they have. So we don't know, like under each and every circumstance, what the effect is going to be.
Yeah, well, there's never any way to know. Everything's like an experiment at all times. The question is, you have to decide, when can I cut over into making this a commercial product? It has to pass some certain gates to get to the point where, X amount of the population is not going to be adversely affected by it. So then you let it go through. Otherwise, there's always that small percentage of people that, it will affect negatively. So, how do you make that decision? Is there like a regulation that makes that decision, or do you just as a company make that decision? Oh, so we trialed it, and we had this minimum amount of issues with it, so let's go ahead and launch it?
That's a very good question. Actually, yes, there is the first thing that comes to mind is the safety. Safety is very important even before the efficacy. If it is not safe and people cannot use it, nobody will say yes to that. So there is always safety trials that goes first, and after that is followed by a mix of safety and efficacy, and then the efficacy piece comes in, and that decides. For example, in the skincare products, if we look into the clinical trials, and if we see mostly it is if they are the placebo controlled trials, for example, then they are more meaningful. They meant to be more robust. And if they have statistical significant results on the parameters that are of interest to a particular segmentation of the customer, if you find that, then yes, so then it's ready to be rolled over. So there are some criteria that we actually, it's not the, I wouldn't say that everything comes from the hierarchy in this case, or like there will be like people who will say yes and no, okay, this technology will go, but it will be more based on the clinical efficacy, because the product, if the person is buying a product and it can, and person can buy a product based on the marketing, right? Whatever the spiel they make, but these people won't come back to buy the product again. So obviously you have to make sure like this product is efficacious wherever it is going. So
right.
it plays a big role.
Well, how do you prove that? I mean, a lot of times it's like you try something and you could try it forever and it doesn't really make a difference. I mean, how can you tell if these things make a difference? Do you have to do it in the lab or?
No, so everything, I mean, yes, in the beginning. So when we are trying to validate a technology, it usually happens within the lab. And then depending on the resources, what I explained before, it could be done internally or it could be outsourced externally also. And those are the very first initial part where you actually validate the mechanism of action. Like how do these things work? Once it is being injected, how do these things are working inside your body? After that, most of the trials, which are, if it is, I will talk more about the dermatology related trials, and those trials, they are done in outside. This could be done in collaboration with the universities. This could be done in collaboration with the dermatologist in their own practice, or this could be done in collaboration with the CROs. Right. So those people, those dermatologists or the experts in that group, they will do it independently. And these studies, they're called double blind. So that means that nobody knew who is using what. Dermatologist doesn't know, we don't know. And some of these key things, they are exposed only when the study ends and when we have the results in hand. So in that way, whatever we see, it is actually the real results after the application of those products. Make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a huge space, right? The health and beauty space. It's a massively huge space, and there's still a lot of money in it. So if somebody's interested in getting into this space, like what areas would you say are hot and expanding?
I mean, right now the area that are expanding in they are in the beauty space I've seen, but there is so much saturation also at the same time with so many indie brands which are coming into the space. And I've also seen in the nutritional space as well, because these spaces, they are not regulated strictly by FDA. Right. So they're not, as compared to the pharmaceutical drugs, which are very, very tightly regulated by FDA. And it has this space has a lot of flexibility also. And the thing that I love about the space is the flexibility and the way that you would like to showcase yourself. But again, the thing is that you really have to concentrate on the efficacy part. Safety and efficacy, they both are a must if you really want your brand to be successful. Now, I have seen some brands which are just successful based on the marketing. And I've seen them building up very soon, and then I've seen them dying them very soon also. Yeah.
Well, it's like sometimes you just see these brands coming out of the blue. It's just an influencer, decides to create a brand, and who knows where stuff comes from, and people try it, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes it's just the allure of using this particular thing, and there really is no. But like you're saying, like certain products, they don't really need to go through any kind of regulation. I could just create a cream tomorrow and put it on the market. And as long as it doesn't hurt anybody, then it'll continue to be sold, right? And people will still buy it.
I've been in mentor with so many, and especially the students, and they have their MBA or they're doing their MBA and they're very interested in doing the skincare lines. So I've seen like they're so, they really want to get into the space because it's very easy. And it's very
it seems easy.
Space.
It seems easy from the outside. It's like, oh yeah, why don't we create? And plus, it's a consumable, so it's like if your customers love the product, then they're just going to continue buying it forever. So it's like an unending income stream. But there's so many variables in creating something that actually works. And like you said, the market's really crowded. I mean, is there any way to stand out nowadays? I mean, is there anything in particular that goes, oh, this is going to make me stand out against the competition?
There's always. You just have to be creative enough, because that's what I told you. This is very flexible space, and you can really wear your creative glasses, and you can think of like, okay, what are the different ways to stand out? We have not answered each and every question yet. There's so many questions. There's so many people. With the iPhone, you can think of like, okay, how many different things have, opened up. Mm-hmm. Now people with the social media, there's so many things that have opened up. You just have to be creative. Think about, okay, what is it that I can stand for? What is my, especially I think when people are passionate about something, they really want to bring that passion through whatever the product they want to bring it to the market. So I have seen a couple of examples, and I always think that these people have done an amazing job. I've recently also have seen some talks where people are like really passionate about things, and they want to bring it from very different level. They want to be a part of the community. So not just like bringing revenue, but they think very broadly too, like how to be a part of the community, how to help the community. So from that perspective, so I think with the new generations that are coming up, new ideas are also coming up. So I think there is no end to this game. So it is going to be quite interesting.
Well, lately, I think you mentioned in your notes, CBD is a huge thing. Now, tell me truly, is it just a marketing thing, or does it really help?
So CBD is one of my favorite topics. And I was
it seems like every product has CBD in it. It's like, I think they had CBD cigarettes the other day. I don't know, I'm kidding. There's like, there's every product under the sun seems to have CBD in it. And it's like, I don't understand how. It's almost like, the modern day, oh, this will solve everything, every problem for you. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think it is, it's been marketed as a wonder drug that can heal everything from cancer all the way to whatever happens on your skin. So
exactly.
It's very fascinating. But I recently gave a seminar. It was an invited seminar by Rutgers, and I kind of like went throughout like how the genesis actually happens with CBD, and it's just very interesting. I'll just give you like 5 minutes on that. Mm-hmm. So CBD, it got its attention in 2013 with Charlotte Fisi. That was the name of the girl who had Dravet syndrome. So she had the seizures, I think 30 seizures per day. So poor girl was going through that. And parents tried like every single remedy that they could have come across. And finally, they came across the CBD oil, and they tried that, and it worked amazingly for that girl. And that story was, it was aired on CNN at that time in 2013. And that's how the people who were actually going through the similar kind of disease or the epilepsy diseases, they kind of like caught on to that CNN show. And that's how the whole CBD thing started. And then the regulations, that's when the government got involved. That's why the 2014 law bill that came onto the hemp plan, that's why it happened. And that's when the research, well, it started quite back. In 1800, somewhere in 1800s, that's when all the research was going on behind it. But it got even more fire in this. And then there were more research that is happening. From 2013 to 2014 until now, we can see a lot of publications out there. However, the caveat is that, okay, we know it works on the epilepsy or on the Dravet syndrome, and we have one FDA recommended drug which is in the market, which is by the GW Pharmaceutical, and it works on these for 2 diseases. One is Dravet syndrome, and the other one, I can't pronounce the name. So it works for them, and we know like what dosage, what concentration, what is the form. So that is very much needed when you really want to treat a symptom like that. However, it got so popular that people started taking it without knowing what is the concentration, what exactly is in the extract. Now they're coming from the hemp plant. We don't know what is in it. We don't know how much CBD is in it. So we don't know the concentration. We don't know the dosage. We don't know how it is going to work for the other symptoms, because those were basically primarily for the Dravet syndrome or some of the epilepsy. But there's a lot of research which is going on the neurological field. I'm not saying that it doesn't work, but we don't know what amount works. Even if you put it on your skin, I don't know what amount do you have to, or what concentration you need to have in order to take care of probably the redness on the skin, or the you have any skin barrier issues, eczema or psoriasis. People have been using it for everything. Now, the caveat is that some part, if you're using some concentration, it might be pro-inflammatory. So that means that the inflammation can happen. And if you use this after a certain concentration, it can be an anti-inflammatory too. So there are both sides of the coins. So how would you decide like what to use and when to use and when not to use?
Yeah, it sounds like there's no
Yes.
standard.
Yeah,
and it's just become it's almost become a placebo, right? It's like it's almost like if you slap CBD, those 3 initials on something, suddenly it'll become like a more popular product.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, right now I even go outside the pharmacies or even these vitamin shops, they all say, we have the CBD oil, but yeah. I just don't know what is in it. I really need to see, because that's the beauty of being a scientist, that you really are curious about these things and you really want to know what's in it and then where the efficacy is coming from.
Yeah. So it sounds like what you're saying is that for those specific use cases, yes, there's efficacy, but outside of that, there's really nothing proven.
There is no science created yet. I would not be able to endorse a statement that, okay, these creams which are containing the CBD, it will work, because I don't have the data for that.
Right. But hyaluronic acid does work, even in topical applications?
So, okay, so then that story is very interesting also. So when we started working on the hyaluronic acid, it is because it has a name acid at the end. And if you now go back 10 years ago, people were not familiar with the hyaluronic acid, like what exactly it is. Yeah. People were scared of putting an acid on the skin without knowing that it is a sugar molecule. But now they know it is hyaluronic acid. It is safe for skin. Now they are open to use it for. Yeah. Okay, regarding your question on does it provide any efficacy or not? Yes, it does provide efficacy, and it provides more efficacious. It is more efficacious when the dermatologist actually inject it in the skin. So if it is injected in the skin, it will give you the volume and that youthful appearance. However, when we are applying it topically, it helps to retain the water in the skin because it's a hygroscopic molecule. So it helps to bind the water and make the skin more moisturized. But based on its molecular weight, it cannot penetrate the skin. So that is one of the other, I would say, need gap that we have with hyaluronic acid, that it cannot penetrate the skin. There are some hyaluronic acid that has been created and that helps with the penetration or the penetration profile. And I can see some of the clinical studies, they show good results with that. Again, at the end, if you ask me, I'm a technical person and I will believe in the clinical studies. So that's what I'm passionate about. If things really work for me, if it is a chemistry of the thing, yes, I really need to look at that. What is it? Then I need to see the biological thing, like how does it work in the skin? What impact does it have? And finally, the clinical study.
Yeah,
like
sometimes I think a lot of this topical stuff doesn't really work at all. I mean, it's all just, people put it on thinking it might make them feel better, or less wrinkly, or whatever, or reduce pain. But none of it actually works because it is topical. I mean, how much of it can really penetrate the skin?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Yes, these things, they are topical. And then that's why having a background in understanding how and what does penetrate into the skin and what impact does it have, it makes a lot of sense. Now, our skin, it has a pores. If you look at our skin, it has a texture, and the texture is because of the pores which are present in the skin. And our skin is a fat layer. So it has a tendency to help in the penetration of these formulations. So these formulations can penetrate in the skin, and they can provide the clinical efficacy. So that's why in the clinic, when we look at, especially, I can give you an example, well-known example of retinol, which is known as the golden standard. The other example I can give you of the retinoids, which are in the prescription drug, but they are known for the anti-aging properties. I can give you an example of glycerin, which is a hygroscopic molecule. It helps with the moisturizing the skin. With different oils that we have, for example, we have the linoleate oils that helps with building the skin barrier. So there are a lot of things. And now we are talking here more about the healthy skin. And if you talk about the unhealthy skin, like where the skin barrier is impaired, right? And then it's like eczema or psoriasis. Yes, we do have these things that can actually penetrate the skin, and it helps build the skin.
So there are, so which of these things are proven to work? So you're saying retinol is proven to work, hyaluronic acid is proven to work, but only injectable? Or so some of these things, a lot of this stuff, it just seems like, you know, when you go look at the counter, it's like a million different combinations and a million different formulations, and 90% of it, I think, is sort of like doesn't really do anything. But it's like certain chemicals do work.
Yes, there are certain chemicals which do work, and I think the best way to look, if you're really interested in looking into these ingredients that work, look into the literature. Don't look into, I hate to say that, but yes, we do have the skin influencers that talk more from a customer's perspective and put their ideas on the table. But I think I got that recently, not recently, but 4 or 5 years ago, when being technical, I go into like very much into the depth, but then I got into how can I translate the science from a consumer perspective? So you really have to dig deep if you really want to get an answer. Okay, this is how these things are working. If there are clinical studies which are available and they're placebo controlled, that's when you get an answer for, hey, these things, they do work, they can penetrate the skin, and they are providing the clinical efficacy. Yes, there are a number of products which are out there. If you go to like Walmart or any other retail shop like Sephora or Target, yes, they are just flooded with the cosmetic products. And I think what it comes down to is like how the claims are being formatted, right? And what do people believe in? Now, what do you think? If you have a wrinkle and it takes you like 40 years to get the wrinkle, do you think a cream can erase it like in a month?
Well, that's what the customers want, right? They want to be able to erase it like that.
How can that happen? I just don't know. I can't tell you.
They want it to act like a time machine. Let me spread some time machine on my face.
Yeah, I think it is more of like embrace yourself like what your skin has gone through, and try to enhance the features. If you have something, find the best way possible to enhance it. I was writing on something, and the question was, does it make sense for 30 years old to use retinol? Probably not. Mm-hmm. We are built with such a good machinery that our body has a tendency to recuperate all the losses that we go through every day. We have the tendency, let our skin take control of it. Why do we need to overwhelm it with so many ingredients out there? There is no need.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, I think it's the same thing, especially it's like we have to take care of our innate immune systems, systems that can repair themselves, because the human body is an amazing thing, right? It can do all sorts of things that if we just let it do its thing and let it help. I mean, in fact, one of those things that like so many people forget about is rest. Right? Yes. I mean, people are just like drive. I'm not feeling well. Oh, I'm going to continue working. It's like, well, rest, and your body will recuperate itself. But it seems so simple, and it's what we've been doing since the dawn of time.
Everybody adapts. Who is not like, who cannot adapt? I mean, since day one, since you are born, you are adapting to this world, to the culture, to your like environment. We are doing that. I mean, we are adapting since day one. And why can't we understand that part, that yes, our body is built in such way so we can adapt to the environment, and we should let it do it. We should not work too much with it. Yes, we do need to work with it when we see a decline in the it's called the adaptive homeostasis. Like there is a way our skin is built so it has a tendency to work in an optimal condition, and that is called the adaptive homeostasis. So we are very well built with that. However, when we are in our 40s, it tends to decline, and that's when we need to interject. Now it's a time to interjection, to care about these things, and to how to actually make it more relevant to the adaptive homeostasis part. But before 40, I think it's more about protection. It's more about the prevention, and for prevention strategies are very different as compared to how you're going to take care or cure strategies. So they are very two different things, and keep it different. Don't overwhelm your skin. That's what my 2 cents would be when it comes to skincare.
So it's almost like you said, there'd be protection prior to 40, and then from 40 onwards, it would be enhancement or whatever. And then,
Yeah.
so if someone were to want to start something like that today, how would they go about it? Like, what would be interesting for the new spaces that aren't open yet?
I told you I am a health enthusiast, so that includes everything. That includes my body weight, that includes the skincare, that includes my lifestyle, that includes my nutrition. So it has everything in it. So for me, it is more about what my lifestyle is, how stressful. So it includes the stress also, like what kind of sleep I'm getting, what am I eating, how am I taking care of my skin. And when it comes to skin before 30, I think it was more about the prevention strategies. Like, what is it our skin made up of? The antioxidant and the oxidative stress. We like to keep it low. So there are prevention strategies that are more related to that. And after we do see, okay, there is a decline in the total energy. And we do see, okay, how fast or the steep decline is, especially in women who go through the postmenopausal or the menopausal stages. I mean, they go through a lot. It's more about having a new life again. So the strategies changes there, the way they exercise, the way they eat, the lifestyle changes, and the skincare, whatever the needs are, everything changes. So it has to be optimized throughout your journey of life. So there is not one solution to all to your journey in life.
Yeah. Well, you said one thing there that you said one thing there, I think that's really important, is it's holistic. It's not just I'm going to eat McDonald's and then I'm going to slap some cream on and I'm going to look great, right? It's going to be like your diet, your exercise, your lifestyle, your rest, all of these things, come into play when it comes to the way, how healthy you are and how you look, right? I mean, it's not just, I'm going to put something on topically and it's going to make me look better. I mean, my mom used to do this. She was like, oh, my knee hurts. Give me some cream for it. It's like, the cream's not going to do anything.
Yeah.
And I think it's a placebo effect. Like, no matter what, it's like, oh, here's some powerful cream, put it on. It's like, oh, you bought me this weird cream from Norway and it worked really well. And I'm like, did it really work? Or did you just think it worked? Right. So, I mean, You're right. I mean, it's a whole body, whole holistic thing that has to be done. You have to deal with everything.
It's so true. I can't agree on this on more. It is more about the holistic way of thinking about life. It is because right now, if we look at it, I mean, there's so much research that has been done on the microbiome, and the microbiome, which is present in the gut microbiome, it tends to speak to your brain. Mm-hmm. So it is like, so everything is so intricate and so woven. So you really have to think about it holistically. You cannot separate out the parts. Hey, this part is separate, so I'll take care of this, and this part is separate, I can take care of this way. No, everything has to go together.
Yeah, that whole microbiome thing, I thought was really interesting. I think I forget which book I was reading, but it was something about how it's the thing that runs your body, not you. It's if you keep your gut microbiome happy, then your whole body is healthy. And it's like, well, so it's almost like we're a parasite on it, as opposed to the way around.
That's a good analogy. I like that one. No, this is so true, because whatever you eat, I mean, these poor organisms which are present in our body, they have to digest it and they have to make sure it makes something meaningful out of those things, the nutrients that our body needs. And that's what our body needs. And it gives it to the brain and everything. And that's what makes it working. It has to be very diverse though. So the more diverse it is, the better it is.
Yeah. It's amazing how complicated we are. I mean, we think we're simple, but we're very complicated. We're just systems of systems of systems. And it's surprising it all works together at all. So
this is what I love. This is what I love about being human. I mean, we are so intricate. There's so many things going on, and it's not easy to put everything together. It's going to take like I think a universe to put everything together the way that a single cell is working, and we are made up of like trillions of cells. Yeah. And think about these cells, they are performing their natural routine stuff at the normal time. So yeah,
it's amazing.
It's very fascinating.
Amazing. Okay, so it's time to think like a futurist. It's the year 2031, 10 years from now. What's your world going to be like?
So I think the world has changed a lot and it's for a good, but I think there is still that I think a world which is more of the community based. I'm sorry, I didn't tell you that I work a lot in the community also. So I think that it's time for me also to give back to the community. And I do think in 10 years from now, we as a human beings, we are trying to find the solutions and bring everybody to the same level. I think that, yes, I came from India, which is called a developing country. And I came to US and the culture is very different over here. And it is a developed country, but I mean, we really have to bring all the human race at the same level. So there's a lot that needs to be done in the developing countries. And I think if there is my 10 years advance, I mean, I do think about the technology. Yes, the technology will be changing. And I do see an impact of the technology at different levels and in different sectors also. But I think overall, I would say that in those 10 years, I would really like to see how we can bring the developing countries to not to the same level, but help them out to bring where they are to manage the issues that are going after, like the water issues, the sewage issues. I mean, we take it for granted over here, but we don't. We have seen like what they have gone through. So I really want to see that to bridge that gap.
So I want to ask you, so we were talking about holistic solutions. What do you think of these new fangled meal replacement things that are happening, that are coming out, like their Huel and Soylent and all these things that are supposed to provide all of your nutrients in one shake or something like that? Is that actually good for you?
I think it is more based on your body composition. I mean, what is meant by giving the nutrients, but in what manner, right? So we have a lot of literature or the scientific discoveries which are going on in the nutrigenomics, and in order to understand what your body composition is. Not even that, but it's also the metabolomics, where we are trying to understand if you have the microbiome, like what kind of metabolites you are getting. And looking at that, maybe this could be one of a personalized way of looking into the nutritional piece, like what exactly your nutrition should be, and what are the key ingredients that you need. For example, some of these people which are obese, they have some deficiencies which are more at the genetic phase. So that cannot be resolved. However, there are nutrients that can help manage some of those issues. So in that scenario, I think, yes, we are moving into that direction, but I do see there is a lot of science that needs to be generated in order to make sure, okay, what is a personalized going to be for every person, because this is now something that you're eating, you're not just putting it on your skin. Right. So it's going to work with your digestive system.
Well, here's a question for you. I mean, based on IoT and sensors and the things we can do to analyze things today, like could we conceivably analyze all the different elements of a human being, including, you know, what they excrete, et cetera, and then take all that and analyze it and go, oh, here's the perfect meal for you? Like, are we at the point now where if we had all the information about what somebody is doing for themselves and what the ideal state would we be able to create like a nutritional package that we could just create for them and say, hey, this is customized to you?
I have thought of that. It is called the ingestibles. I've looked into that, like how we can have, it's kind of like micro robots that we can have in our body, and they can see like, okay, what exactly is going on inside our body, and give us a sneak peek of like what is it that we might need. Again, I would say, yes, that's one way of looking into that, but it has to be deeply understood more from a metabolomics point of view and a nutritional genomics point of view, because one endpoint is not going to answer your question, because it is the way our body performs. It is a process that is being defined in our system, and we really have to understand the whole system. And then it is not one meal, like it is about, okay, how you, if you are eating that meal, and then how it is interacting with something else which is already present in your body. So how the microbiome is reacting to that, how is the composition that of the body that you have, how it is going to interact with that. Of taking a medication, for example, I can give you an example for that. You eat something, and we really have to know about the pharmacokinetics, because once you eat it, we really have to see, okay, what is it actually breaking up to? Does it break up to this different molecules? Which molecules are those? And then how those are interacting, right? In the same way, if you're eating some nutritional piece, because once it's inside your body, it will be digested. And digested to what? And how are the other constituents which are already present within your body is going to react with that? Mm-hmm. Yes, I think there will be some time when we will have that kind of an answer, but we are still very early in stage to start seeing, okay, where is the end, or where is the light of that tunnel? Because we have still so many unknowns in that area that has to be well taken care of before we can start really giving like a personalized meal to people.
Yeah. Well, isn't that sort of like the end game of both health and wellness? It's like if you wanted to look good, then it should be eventually, it shouldn't be anything you put topically on. It's an ingestible that will, help your body to create whatever it needs to have great skin or whatever. So, I mean, isn't that kind of like the end game of the whole process?
Yes, what you eat. So it's been, this concept has been validated to some point also, I would say, not from ingestible point of view, I would say, but more from nutritional. Like, for example, there are some nutritional things which are supplements which are present out in the market that talks about the collagen, right? Collagen now is a part of our skin of our entire body, and yes, we do need collagen, but even there are so many intricacies, and we are not there yet in order to just have like one type of collagen that we can say, okay, this is good for you, because then it comes from so many different sources. We don't know where is it coming from, what is the quality of that. So again, so this field is going to be defined, and this is the concept was again like if you have something in yourself, if you're feeding that to your body, yes, you will show up in your external system, which is your skin. So that's why the collagen was being eaten. But yes, we are, I think there's still way to go, but the concept is currently under development. I do see people believe in that, and they do take care, they listen, and then they take the collagen supplements.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but there's also, there's the processing, right? It's like you can take collagen, but does it end up as collagen in your body? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. It depends on the processing.
No, yeah. Because I remember whenever we are eating, it's getting into our stomach, and then in the stomach, the pH is very low. It's 2. So you don't know. I mean, if it is even passing the stomach, we talk about the probiotics, right? And the prebiotics, probiotics, everything. But if these are the microorganisms that we are eating and getting into the stomach, you think that they will be live by that time? It is, the pH is so low. What is the right format?
Well, I just think frozen yogurt is hilarious, because if you think about it, I mean, aren't there supposed to be probiotics in the yogurt, and don't you kill them by freezing it? So, I mean, frozen yogurt isn't a thing, right? It doesn't, the probiotics in frozen yogurt don't help, right?
Yeah, I have been, yes, I mean, even I've been talking about it, like, okay, what purpose does it serve when it comes to the probiotics in a yogurt? Because I make my own yogurt. Yeah. And that's what I feel good about. And back home in India also, I would say there are a lot of, we still have that. People eat a lot of yogurt back home. And probably they have really good digestive system. But yeah, so I always question that too. Like, yes, we are using the pasteurized one, and then we're still talking about the probiotics. Tell me, how does it work?
Yeah, because in the pasteurization process, you kill off all the probiotics. So it's all gone.
Yeah. No, I feel the same way. So that's why that's why I said that it's very flexible. It's very fascinating field also, because there are so many things that we can be so creative about. And there's so many things that we can think of very differently to make it more relevant to the communities out there.
Fantastic. Well, this has been great. Thank you so much. If somebody wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way?
The best way is, I would say, through email. And
okay. It's okay. I'll put the contact information in the show notes.
Great.
So
and I'll send you my bio also. So if you
Yes,
need
please.
it, I know you have asked for it. So I'll send you my bio too.
Perfect. Thank you so much. This has been great.
It's been
Talk to you
great. Thank
soon.
you so much, Chris, for organizing this. And it's been great talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Talk to you soon.
Talk to
Bye-bye.
you soon. Bye.